I am Satoshi Kanazawa. I'm an evolutionary psychologist and reader in management at the London School of Economics and Political Science. The basic premise of evolutionary theory is that the ultimate goal of all biological beings is reproductive success, and that includes humans as well. And in order to achieve reproductive success, men and women have to find each other, and it's a major goal of all males, including all men, to find and attract mates. And in order to do that, they try to achieve and attain high status to attract mates, because women are attracted to men of higher status and greater resources. And in order to do that early on in their lives, before they can achieve, they have to put in a lot of effort to attain higher status. And that's why early on in their lives, when they're still young, when they're still looking for mates, they tend to achieve more than they do later on in their lives after they have found mates. The basic contention of my work is that all men are essentially the same. So be they scientists, criminals, artists, musicians, and writers, whatever their chosen field of work, they do whatever they do in order to get laid. So they try. The reason why scientists and artists achieve more earlier in their lives is the same as the reason why criminals are young, and they try to achieve more when they're young as well. Because reproductive success is the goal, once they get married, that means they have at least one mate. True, by competing more, they can acquire more mates and possibly produce more children, but there are also costs associated with continued competition. So after they get married, men tend to shift their reproductive effort, from mating to parenting. So now that they have one mate and they have produced some children, it's better for men to stop trying to impress more mates and start investing more into children. That's the conclusion of my latest study. Because being liberal is evolutionarily novel, in a sense, humans are designed to be conservative, and it's unnatural for humans to be liberal, being concerned about the welfare of millions of genetically unrelated other people. So more intelligent people are more likely to acquire unnatural preferences and values, and being a liberal is one of them. And as a result, more intelligent people tend to be more liberal than less intelligent people. This is research that I took part in marginally, but other people are doing right now. That's one of the stereotypes that people tend to reject. You can't judge a book by its cover. It turns out that you indeed can judge a book by its cover, because nice people look nice and nasty people look nasty. Just by looking at people, you can tell who's likely to cooperate and who's likely to defect in any social exchange situations. And you can often tell who are criminals and who are law-abiding citizens just by looking at them, because they do look different. That part we don't know yet. It's not mannerism, just because you can tell, you can judge from still pictures. You don't have to. If you look at movements, you might be able to tell better, but that's not necessary. Most of these studies are done with still photos. So there's no voice, there's no speech, there's no mannerism. It's just their face somehow looks different. Nobody knows exactly what are different about them, but our brain is designed to tell, because there are so many costs associated with hanging out with defectors and potential criminals. We are designed to sort of avoid them. So we remember their faces better, and then we can sort of tell who are nice people and who are bad people just by looking at them. It depends on how you define evolution. If you define evolution as frequency of genes, then no. The gene frequencies tend to change over time, all the time. But if you're talking about important psychological traits, then yes, probably the human evolution, directional human evolution towards certain psychological mechanisms probably stopped about 10,000 years ago, because since then things change. Environment has changed so quickly, so rapidly, for evolution to catch up. Evolution of certain traits requires that the environment stay stable for many generations, and that hasn't happened for the last 10,000 years. So there hasn't been any significant evolutionary trends in the last 10,000 years, and we are essentially the same as we were 10,000 years ago. Most of the work in evolutionary psychology shows that we are essentially still acting as if we're hunter-gatherers in Africa. That's why, for example, we like sweet and fatty foods. When we were hunter-gatherers on the African savannah tens of thousands of years ago, food was scarce, and you'd better eat when there was enough food to eat, and sweet and fatty food that have more calories were good for us because our ancestors suffered from shortage of calories, and whenever you can get hands-on sweet and fatty food, the more you eat, the better. And we still act like that. That's why we still have cravings for sweet and fatty food, except that now we have supermarkets and we have food stores, and you can always get food. We don't suffer from food shortage, but our brain doesn't know that. There was no such thing as abundant food 10,000 years ago, and our brain still cannot comprehend supermarkets. If our brain comprehended supermarkets, there's no need for us to crave sweet and fatty food. Food is always there, but our brain doesn't understand that. Not so much human character, but probably male character. Because humans have been naturally polygynous, men had to compete more to get access to women than vice versa. And also, most of the reproductive resources are held by the females, the women. So throughout human evolutionary history, throughout the evolutionary history of most mammals, males have had to compete more than females to gain access to their mates. As a result, men are more violent, men are more aggressive, and it's definitely the case that aggression, violence is unfortunately a large part of male human nature. Yeah, men's greater tendency to engage in violence and crime, what we now call interpersonal crime, stealing, beating up each other, killing each other, was a routine part of male competition in the ancestral environment. There were no police, there were no courts, there were no jail. So men only had to deal with their enemies or their competitors and possibly their friends and kin. There were no third-party enforcement of law in the ancestral environment. So unfortunately, men still have the tendency to engage in competition violently and try to beat up each other, try to steal from each other when that might benefit their reproductive success. My theory is it's not just intelligent men, but intelligence evolved to deal with and solve evolutionarily novel problems. Human nature consists of various psychological adaptations to solve all the familiar problems that our ancestors dealt with. We have modules for mating, we have modules for parenting, all those things that our ancestors did all the time doesn't require intelligence. We know what to do when it comes to mating, we know what to do when it comes to parenting and learning a language associated with other people. All these things that our ancestors did already have ready-made solutions in our brain. But occasionally there were novel problems that required our ancestors to think, and that's how intelligence evolves. Some people who could think and reason and solve these evolutionarily novel problems did better occasionally. So my contention is that intelligence evolved to deal with novel problems, and as a result, more intelligent people are more likely to recognize evolutionarily novel entities and situations, and as a result, they become more likely to adopt these novel preferences and values like sexual exclusivity for men, or atheism, or liberalism. So what's the key part of the equation is that intelligence leads individuals to seek novel solutions, and as a result, they become more likely to adopt novel preferences and values. So intelligence makes people do unnatural things. Once again, my basic theory is that intelligent people do unnatural things, and staying up all night is part of unnatural things given human nature. Our ancestors didn't have artificial source of illumination like lights in the ancestral past, so they had to wake up when the sun came up, and they had to go to bed when the sun went down. The sun was the only natural source of illumination, and it would be dangerous for our ancestors to be up and about when it's dark, when they couldn't see where our predators may have been able to see and attack us. So humans are once again designed to limit the daily activities to the daylight times, and so it is unnatural for humans to stay up long past the sundown and stay asleep long past sunup, and that's why more intelligent people are more likely to engage in nocturnal activities. My last paper also showed that more intelligent people are more likely to be atheists, and it has nothing to do with whether or not God actually exists. It's because, once again, believing in God is natural. Humans are designed to be religious. Humans are designed to believe in higher powers that cause natural events, and as a result, more intelligent people are more likely to reject that natural tendency to attribute causality to natural phenomena and then become atheist.